Hey Optimancers, Chris here. Today I'm just doing a quick video to discuss the 3 new feats that were released in Fizban's Treasury of Dragons. One feat has been released relating to each of the families of dragons, so we have one for Chromatic, Gem, and Metallic dragons, now available to players. Hi, if you like the content on this channel and you'd be interested in supporting it, then you can do so through Patreon. There is a link in the video description. Patrons of this channel can see these videos early and without the YouTube ads. And my Archmage level patrons can join me and play some D&D every month. Today I'd like to thank these top level patrons: Eric Wasserman, Gakamaru, Hoerby, Lama Supporter 7000, I'm Not K, Jay Gemmel, James Monroe, James Sprague, James Thomas, and Jared Whitley. Thank you all so much for your support. Let's get started. First up, we have Gift of the Chromatic Dragon. The feat reads, you've manifested some of the power of chromatic dragons, granting you the following benefits. The first feature is Chromatic Infusion. As a bonus action, you can touch a simple or martial weapon and infuse it with one of the following damage types: acid, cold, fire, lightning, or poison. For the next minute, the weapon deals an extra 1d4 damage of the chosen type when it hits. After you use this bonus action, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest. And the second feature is Reactive Resistance. When you take acid, cold, fire, lightning, or poison damage, you can use your reaction to give yourself resistance to that instance of damage. You can use this reaction a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. So let's look at these features one at a time. So, Chromatic Infusion. We've got a bonus action, and then we can choose one of several damage types equal to a d4 on all weapon attacks for a minute. If I was to look for a comparable spell, I guess I would look at Divine Favor. Divine Favor affects all weapon attacks, and it's self-only. Now, Divine Favor is a little different because it affects all weapon attacks, and it is self-only, and it uses concentration. But both have a bonus action to set it up. They both have a 1-minute duration, and they're both adding a d4 to damage. Since Divine Favor is radiant damage, and Gift of the Chromatic Dragon allows you to select a damage type, we can assume both would be pretty reliable damage. We could also compare this to Elemental Weapon, though that has a much longer duration and provides a bonus to hit. So the effect here, I'd say, is comparable to maybe a first level spell, probably better than a first level spell, maybe second level, usable once per long rest. And the once per long rest thing here is my main issue with this. Then we have Reactive Resistance. Now this is very easy to compare to a first level spell. Absorb Elements is very similar. It's also a reaction. Absorb Elements allows you to attack with a weapon for a bonus to damage as well, but really the main reason we take Absorb Elements is for damage resistance. There is one notable difference between the two. This one can provide resistance to poison damage instead of thunder damage, and poison is definitely more common, though it is also technically easier to get resistance to, or even immunity, through racial selection. But assuming that you're not playing one of the races with poison resistance or immunity, this is probably a little bit better. Now this one is usable more often than the first feature. We can use it proficiency times per long rest. So how good is this? Well, we basically have two effects. Once usable only once per long rest, the other proficiency number of times. Both are probably comparable to a first or second level spell. Now, feats aren't free. In fact, they are really hard to fit on builds. And generally I would say only take feats that are really important to a build unless they're half feats. Speaking of which, we now have multiple half feats that provide a first and second level spell with free castings of each, available in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. Now, I don't think this feat is bad, but I just wonder if it's ever going to be that important on a build I mean important in the way that it's worth a valuable feat or ability score increase to take it. Honestly, I'm trying to think of a build where I would take this, and I can't think of one. So, although I don't think this feat is bad, I just don't see taking it very often, if at all. It probably should be a half feat, really. If it was, I think it would be very comparable to Fey and Shadow Touched. The next feat is Gift of the Gem Dragon. It reads, you've manifested some of the power of gem dragons, granting you the following benefits. First, ability score increase. Increase your intelligence, wisdom, or charisma score by 1 to a maximum of 20. And the second feature is telekinetic reprisal. When you take damage from a creature that's within 10 feet of you, you can use your reaction to emanate telekinetic energy. The creature that dealt damage to you must make a strength saving throw, standard DC, and the ability score is the one you increased. On a failed save, the creature takes 2d8 force damage and is pushed up to 10 feet away from you. On a successful save, the creature takes half as much damage and isn't pushed. You can use this reaction a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. So, this one is a half feat, but we are only getting one usable feature, which is telekinetic reprisal. You need to take damage, the creature inflicting the damage needs to be within 10 feet of you, and we have to use our reaction. And then we can potentially push it and do some damage if it fails a strength saving throw, and it takes half damage on a success. Now, if we were to take this at first level, I'd say the 2d8 damage is pretty relevant. But the damage here doesn't scale with your level, so it's going to fade into irrelevance soon enough. As for the push, I just can't help but think about, obviously, the telekinetic feat. With that, we get a bonus action push or pull. We have a 30-foot range. There's no trigger requirement, and we get a free cantrip. Never mind, with telekinetic, we have unlimited uses. This one, it can push an additional 5 feet, but is that worth all the additional limitations? So once again, I don't think this feat is bad. In fact, my standards on half feats tend to be a lot lower than my standards on full feats, I think for obvious reasons. The problem is, if we want a +1 to charisma, wisdom, or intelligence, we have a lot of options, and what I really wonder is, when would I take this over telekinetic? Once again, I have trouble coming up with a case. Now, I guess here, if I'm making a character that really wants to push and pull, and I haven't filled up my feat slots already, then maybe I take this after taking telekinetic. So, I guess there's that, but I just don't think I'm going to be overly excited for this one. It's certainly not something I'm likely to ever take as my first feat. And with that trigger, the taking damage, the 10 feet, need your reaction available, you just have so much less control of this. And finally, we have Gift of the Metallic Dragon. It reads, you've manifested some of the power of metallic dragons, granting you the following benefits. The first, Draconic Healing. You learn the Cure Wounds spell. You can cast this spell without expending a spell slot. Once you cast a spell in this way, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest. You can also cast this spell using the spell slots you have. The spell's spellcasting ability is Intelligence, Wisdom, or Charisma. When you cast it with this feat, choose when you take the feat. And then the second feature is Protective Wings. You can manifest protective wings that can shield you or others. When you or another creature you can see within 5 feet of you is hit by an attack roll, you can use your reaction to manifest spectral wings from your back for a moment. You grant a bonus to the target's AC equal to your proficiency bonus against that attack roll, potentially causing it to miss. You can use this reaction a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. So we're back to full feats. We get 2 features here. The first is a first level spell that we can cast once for free. So like the lesser part of the Fey and Shadow Touched half feats. It's not horrible, but pretty minor. Then we have Protective Wings, a reaction to provide a bonus to armor class to yourself or someone who is right next to you, equal to your proficiency bonus against a single attack, usable a number of times per day, equal to our proficiency bonus. I mean, I always like a boost to defense, but we have better defensive reaction options. Shield for self-protection is probably significantly better, since it's not limited to a single attack. Never mind, it's a bigger bonus for most of the game. As for protecting somebody else, I guess, but I don't know how often to expect allies to be within 5 feet. And if they are, maybe the interception combat style would probably be more effective and has unlimited uses. This is very limited in use. Or I have to look at the defensive duelist feat. That provides a reaction defense that's equivalent in numerical value, though it is self-only, but it's unlimited times per day. And you know what? I don't know anyone who takes that feat. And I think that's the case here too. It's just not quite enough, as far as I'm concerned, for a full feat. And that is the feats. So none of these are terrible. Grappler, durable. These are terrible feats. These ones, they're so-so feats. And when we're talking about how valuable every ability score increase is on our character, I just can't recommend so-so feats for those slots. So honestly, I don't expect to see a lot of these in play in any optimized table. So those are the feats in Fizbans, and that concludes my analysis of the player build options in Fizbans. There's some okay stuff here, nothing really powerful, but we got some okay racial options and okay ranger subclass. I'm currently playing with builds for that, so there might be a Drake Warden video sometime in the future if I come up with something I'm happy with. Otherwise, until next time, I'm going to sit back, relax, and have some fun. D&D is for everyone. Thanks everybody, and I'll talk to you soon.